Hello, everyone. This is Junior Ibarra with Team IRG, and I'm excited again to bring you another episode of What's Happening in Des Moines Metro, the language of real estate, the lore report, as we like to call it. And today I have my guest alongside us doing this together. We have
I'm Ryan Coy with Team IRG, Director of Operations. And
I'm Anthony Simon, one of the agents on Team IRG. So let's just jump right into the numbers. So median sale price. So we're going to be talking today about December. This is our December video and our 2022 recap. So for December, median sale price rebounded a decent bit, up to 294, 295, and again a decent jump from where it was kind of sliding, but we're still seeing year over year um, just a huge gap there for 2022.
it looks like it went from November to December. It made another jump there. So, but as you can tell, just from 2018, which is that darker blue at the bottom, orange being 2019, gray being 2020, yellow 2021, and the lighter blue 2022. It's just you see those big gaps in there. How at least here in the Des Moines Metro, how pricing has continued to stay consistent and go up.
And again, this is the metro proper. We're looking at single family homes within 14 and a half miles kind of what is the geographic center of Des Moines. So kind of just the metro proper, because our system for the metro does go out quite a ways, and we'll see different statistics for all that stuff, but we want to focus on Des Moines proper.
Yeah,
it's amazing. Sorry guys. It's amazing to me to see like that gap. I know we had that doom and gloom stuff, but like you can clearly see it. The pricing is not going down, you know, even with the interest rates where they are today. So
yeah.
Yeah, and it continued to track. Des Moines tends to be cyclical with the seasons, with the holidays. Things tend to slow down coming into November, December, a little bit into January, and tends to pick right back up. And kind of a spoiler alert, kind of we're at the end of January now, time of recording, and things have been starting to pick up already.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I agree. Things are picking up real quick, so we can maybe hit on that a little bit later. Let's go on to the next one.
All right, so this is kind of uh, year totals. So looking at median sale price for the year and kind of the percent increase or decrease from the previous year. So 2021, we saw an 11% increase from 235 up to basically 260. And then for 2022, we saw it go from 260 to 300,000. So another 15% increase year over year. And again, most people are going to think, well, that was the beginning part of the year. But again, looking at that graph and just that huge gap, it was the whole year. The whole year added to that total.
including the December. Yeah.
Yeah, so pre-COVID numbers, if you take a look like 2020, 2019, and 2018, it's more of that 6%, right? 7% range. And then these last couple years, as everyone has felt it, it's kind of just out of the norm, some just everybody buying, lots of moving, the lowest interest rates in the history of the United States of America hit, and it just caused everyone to go out and buy, right? So I think as we see 2023 come into fruition, we're going to go back to normal, as I like to, I've used that word in the past, we're going to normalize, right? So back into that 4 to 6%, potentially 7% year over year for the increase in price in the Des Moines Metro, which is better for everyone because 11 and 15% year over year increase in pricing is not sustainable, right? So definitely I'll be interested to see how that continues to shape out going into 2023.
All right. Looking at days on market. So we are still slowly trending up. Again, earlier this year, I think we averaged 1 or 2 days on market for listings. And October, November, we were 12, 10 in that 10 to 12 range. Now we're up to 18 for December. I think early January, it was even close to 30. So things just, again, sat over the holidays. But anecdotally, just from the last couple of weeks, we're seeing stuff go in a day or two, if it's
Multiple
priced
offers
correctly.
too, right, Anthony?
What's that?
I've heard more multiple offer situations coming
Yeah,
out.
we have 15 agents on our team, so we have a couple of different data points that we pull from all our agents, and yeah, multiple stories every morning when we talk about multiple offers, things going super quick. I know I had a house we wanted to go look at when it was listed for one day, and we couldn't make it that first day, and it sold that night.
Wow.
You also had another listing, right, Anthony, that hit market on a Thursday or Friday. Tons of showings over the weekend and an accepted offer.
Yeah, we again for me it's been right around the 200,000 price point, that we've seen a ton of activity, but we've heard 300, 350, and even on the lower side too. But yeah, we had that listing went live late Friday afternoon, which is later than we normally like to push a listing live during the week, just to give people time to schedule their weekends and look at our listings. We had 16 showings between Friday evening and Saturday night,
Wow.
and we accepted an offer that night.
Yeah, definitely. So as you can tell, like days on market overall are still, it's still considered a seller's market, right? Because we're selling in under 90 days. So it's technically considered a seller's market when you're selling a house in under 90 days. So we're still in that realm,
We're still quite a ways from that realm.
definitely.
So looking at total houses sold, again, looking trends over the year, we did see it. We did see total units sold slow down the second half of the year. Not really a surprise to anyone. June was when kind of the interest rates really started jumping, and that's when we saw kind of the drastic pullback on just active buyers. Um, Trending roughly though, roughly at the same pace we'd see kind of throughout the year, just slightly slower. Now we did for December, we did see way less activity, I think, than what we'd had seen the previous 2 years and previous 4 years, about half in December. So it's just December was a little slow for Des Moines this year.
Yeah, I think my professional 2 cents is also like, as far as the national media goes, there's also like been talks of, recessions and this and that. So I think everyone was kind of waiting to see what's going on going into the new year, right? As far as December kind of went along. Obviously, the holidays and the winter has something to do with it too, at least here in our Des Moines local market. And so I think that has something to do with it. We're in a world now where everything's all over Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, right? So it's like news travels that much quicker, right? I'm considered a millennial, I think, but back in the day, I still remember where you had to actually turn on the TV to see what's happening across the country, right? So if you didn't tune in for the 5 o'clock news or the 9 o'clock news, you didn't even know what's going on. Nowadays, you can pull up your phone and like the sky is falling, right? But this is why we look at these numbers in the hyper local market. Because my biggest takeaway from this slide, if we look at the left hand side column, Anthony, is that 2022 totals is 9,109, which is if we look at the last two, or like take away the last two crazy years, and we're right alongside 2019 and 2018 numbers of a little over 9,000 units sold here for Des Moines Metro.
Yeah, we basically we tracked overall for the year what we'd kind of been seeing pre-COVID and I only show statistics through 2018, but I have it back a few years further than that, and they were still kind of in that low to mid 9,000s. So again, this total units sold for the year is right on par for what it used to be as the normal. It only looks drastically different because of the last 2 years.
Mhm.
So talking about that, we'll look at that in terms of percentage breakdown. So 2020 is when really we saw that huge jump, 118% over the previous year in units sold, and then another 4% jump increase in 2021 over that. So now we saw a 19% drop from last year, again and that's with interest rates doubling, more than doubling in some instances for short periods of time. and we're still tracking to what a normal rate is. And again, that's slowed down the price increases. We still had a price increase overall, a big one for 2022, but we saw it taper kind of towards the end of the year, and and we're kind of getting back to that normal. And we keep saying that video after video, but we are getting back to that normal for Des Moines.
Heck yeah. What are your thoughts on that, Ryan?
Well, yeah, I'm curious, too, like, as we go into 2023, where we're at Q1 and Q2. I think that's really what's going to tell us, we'll have a year's worth of data at that point, because Q3 and Q4 of 2022 obviously were our drastic drops. Obviously what do I say, activity, right? So this Q1 and Q2, I think, is going to be a major thing on our radar as far as seeing where the market's going to be headed in 2023.
Yeah, and if any indicators these last 2 weeks might be able to like say where that's going. So far, it looks like it's trending back up to a market that's going to be doing a lot of activity. So because of what we're running into in multiple offer situations, our phones are ringing, and it's easy for us to gauge how that, because we're an actual team, right? So we actually like meet in person like every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and we talk about what's going on with the market, how you're feeling about your buyers, the offers you're running into. And so we can kind of gauge that a little bit further in advance, say someone who maybe doesn't get together with their whole team 3 times a week in person, right? So kind
And I
of,
know, no, Junior, our conference rooms were booked all today with buyer consultations. If that tells you anything, obviously the activity is upticking, and
yeah,
that's a good thing.
yeah, for sure.
All right, so new listings. This new listings hitting the market. Again, every month and kind of year over year, what that looks like. So again, no surprise here. December was low. 355 new listings hit the market in December, half of what we did last year, and still a decent chunk less than what I would consider in the normal range. So it was a slow December. It really was, as far as new activity. And again, that could be weather related. We did have some snow earlier in December, and it was a little colder this year than previous years. That coupled with all the doom and gloom we're seeing on the news and interest rates still being high, just there was a little less activity than what we typically see in December. But that's, spoiler, quickly starting to turn around here in January.
Yeah.
Anthony, I don't know if you have this data, but how many of new listings you think are new construction?
I really need to break that out for next video. New construction versus resale, but my gut tells me, just from what we're seeing, that new construction really hasn't slowed down, but resale houses have, and a lot of that has to just do with, I mean, realistically, with interest rates. If you're in a house and you either purchased in the last couple of years or you refinance because interest rates were 2.5%, 3%, why would you move when they're 7, unless you have to? And stuff happens, divorce, marriage, kids, new job, life happens, but that's gonna reduce the seller pool if you just don't have people going, well, maybe we will upgrade this year. Now they're like, well, let's wait a little bit because we're locked in at 2.5%, and I don't want to double my payment to pay, for a slightly bigger house with twice the interest rate.
Mhm.
And I don't know, maybe you guys can help me verify this since you're actively selling stuff, but if a large percentage of new listings are new construction, obviously in December and the cold months, they're probably not putting them active, right? It's probably not coming on board as, say, the spring, so I don't know, what can you guys, is my theory correct? Would that make sense?
Yeah, I mean there's more listings obviously starting to hit the market as the weather starts to turn around, and obviously more foundations, more stuff's getting done, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, like we even have some builders that we work with, right? That I know they're building houses, and yet they want to start listing their houses come end of February going into March, right? So
Yeah.
and I know, I mean, I'll shout out one of the biggest builders, or the biggest builder in the country, DR Horton. I know they don't list all of their stuff. They strategically list a percentage of all their active, homes that are under construction. And, if they see an influx on stuff that's sitting, they'll reduce their listings to not basically devalue their own properties. So it's a little hard to gauge new construction on what's actually available. Because if you call them, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, here's all these addresses we don't that are almost finished or under construction that aren't on the MLS." So we don't quite have
Mm.
a a super accurate number of actual active homes. Now we can look at solds, and we can look, again, that's looking in the mirror, backwards in the rearview mirror, but we can use those trends to kind of predict what's going to happen in the coming year.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, Ryan's right. It would be cool for us to kind of see when the next slide after this would be like, well, how many active listings are resale versus new construction? So that'd be a cool one for us to hit on in the near future. Cool.
All right. So then here's the fun graph that comes up every month. Total active listings. We are still down. We were seeing it creep back up a little bit from August to September to October. And then again, the new listings continue to fall off more than there were buyers. So we're seeing total active listings continue to drop. And again, putting it in yearly totals, what is shocking is what used to be the norm for the year for total listings was 40,000, or in the, really close to 40,000. This year we were just shy of 24,000. So nearly half of the active listings this year than what we've seen the previous 5, 6, 7 years.
That's crazy. And even like what, that's amazing to see that. But then like during 2020 and 2021, the active listings actually went down from 2019 and 2018. It's a crazy statistic.
And
Yeah.
we've talked about that before. It could be, sellers didn't want to jump into that crazy market, so they were waiting until things slow down a little bit. So there's people are always going to buy a home or make a move. It just, because again, life happens. But some people want to wait when things are crazy. Some people are looking to jump in, and that's what caused the craziness. And yeah, but one thing I did want to point out, I showed the number for May. So May was crazy this summer. We had 1,715 active listings, and right now we're at 1,766 or we were in December. So back down to that May low for the summer for active listings. Now, granted, we don't have the same amount of active buyers right now, but still, well, that's shockingly low again.
Yeah, and again, this is what I think screams opportunity for those innovators and those people that want to come into our market. And well, like, and the way I say that is because how are we going to solve the inventory problem, right? Like, people want to buy homes and they'll continue to want to buy homes because life happens, right? And Des Moines doesn't seem to be slowing down. At least the numbers don't indicate it overall. Yet we are going to do less units if we don't have the inventory. So what's cool is recently we have a commercial division on our team, and so we've actually been getting calls from developers from other states because they see this as an opportunity, right? They see the numbers within Des Moines, they see the economic strengths of Des Moines, right? Not only do we have the insurance, one of the biggest insurance industries, globally, we have agriculture, we have
Healthcare.
healthcare, financial industry, and now we have the technology industry, right? FAMGAs, as I've heard the acronym being used, which is Facebook, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and Apple, all in town as well. And it's a strong, so a lot of pillars for our economic foundation to stay stable versus just having 1 to 2 industries in some cities, right? And so Des Moines is no longer a secret, and we're currently helping. We're writing offers on big chunks of land here in and around the metro for future developments because they see the opportunity to help create solutions for this inventory gap here in the Des Moines metro. One of my other mentors, who's out of Austin, said that for those of you looking to invest, or even just the homeowner themselves, he says, don't wait to buy real estate, buy real estate and wait, because he's like, you guys are like Austin 15 years ago. And the average price point in Austin was about 250, right? Which we're, or 275. I can't remember what he said, but it was below 300. And that's kind of where we're at right now. And there's so much growth happening that he's like 15 years later, their average price point now is like 550, 600,000 in Austin. So if you're a homeowner and you plan on living here for the next 5, 10, 15 years, you can capitalize on all that equity, right? Or that increase in price and appreciation. And if you're an investor and you're collecting houses, well, that equity position times 2, times 3, times 4, times 5, times 10. So that's what he gave me as advice, is like, buy as much real estate as you can, and you're going to thank me 5, 10, 15 years from now, because I see what's happening in the Des Moines metro area. So, and this applies for homeowners, right? And the average net worth of a renter is 6,700. Go ahead and Google it, somewhere on those lines. And the average net worth of a homeowner is, I think, around 265,000. And that's just what Google says at the very top. And so it's one of those things where if you buy and hold, long term, real estate is a pretty safe investment.
Couldn't have said it better. All right, so looking ahead, what's coming in 2023? Thoughts? I'll call on you, Ryan. What are your thoughts on pricing for
Pricing,
2023?
I think pricing is gonna, like you say, I think it'll normalize. I don't think it's gonna go down, honestly, with what I feel in my guts, right? What about you guys?
Yeah, pricing wise, I mean, based on all these numbers and inventory being low, like, I think we're just gonna go back to pre-COVID, year over year increase in price, kind of that 4 to 6%, at least here for our Des Moines metro. I don't think we'll have that 15% increase. And I'm sure no one wants that either. So
Yep, and that's kind of my thought, is that, again, inventory is super low, and that's what's keeping our pricing steady.
Mhm.
And that's not going to change overnight. There are still going to be buyers. And as long as interest rates honestly hold steady right around that 6%, which is roughly what they're at right now, 5.5 to 6.5%, just depending on stuff. I think that's kind of the sweet spot for us, that things aren't, that's going to keep it normalized. And pre-COVID, 4% was what interest rates were, or even looking back 5 years pre-COVID, 4% was normal. So if we're at 5.5%, that is close. I mean, that's still 1.5% different, but that's close to normal. 7% was getting up there, and I think that was going to drive pricing down. But now that we've seen it ease a little bit on interest rates, I think we're already seeing more buyers starting to come out again this year.
yeah, yet the national or the historical averages has been, right, like if you look at decades, the last, what, 56 or 5 or 6 decades, it's actually like 7.5, 8%. So we're still below the average norm, which is good, because if you are able to essentially buy now, at the current rate, if it goes up, well, it doesn't affect you, right? And if it goes down, well, what's awesome about that is you can capitalize on that and refinance, right? So, yet the pricing overall looks like it'll be continuing to go up, from what indicators are saying. So, and that won't affect you either, because you locked in your price, right? So,
Yeah, and again, this is for Des Moines.
Des Moines,
Every metro city, every metro area is different.
definitely.
There are some that are going to see price drops this year, but within Des Moines, we don't think that that's coming. We're thinking it's going to hold steady, a steady increase. Inventory. So we are seeing new builders come to the metro. We are maybe starting to see some sellers actually list their homes that have been either waiting because of the craziness or waiting because interest rates went up so fast. I think inventory hopefully will recover a little bit.
I would say hopefully it creeps up a little bit. I think people are in that doom and gloom. Like eventually it's like this is the new norm, and people will be like, all right, now make decisions and stop worrying about like trying to play the lottery. That's what I kind of equate some of this stuff is like we're trying to play the lottery with interest rates and waiting and stuff like that when, you know, people need to buy and sell, not because of those reasons, because life happens.
Yep.
Mhm. Yeah, that'd be my only thing with inventory. Again, like both of you, just uh, the fact that it's half of of what we've seen in years prior. It's like, man, yeah, we need to just continue to, and even the city of Des Moines and the metro area is figuring out ways to create more inventory and then providing some there's some new incentives and new programs out there, that are also kind of uh, aiming to help with inventory as well. So we shall see what this spring summer brings.
Yeah, I really do think that we will honestly probably hold steady. I think we're going to see more sellers come back to the market. But because of the time of year, spring into summer, I'm hoping it'll just stay flat, and then hopefully it'll start actually creeping up again next fall. So foreclosures, I know again, doom and gloom online, doom and gloom from the news, people talking about foreclosures and equating what we're seeing now to 2008. What are your thoughts, Junior?
We're just not seeing it. And if you are in one of those situations, call a professional, please, please do, because you probably have enough equity to sell and be able to hopefully make some money or at least break even in order to move on with whatever's happening in your life if that's happening, just because there's everybody has, at least here in the Des Moines Metro, has plenty of even if you bought 1 year ago or 2 years ago, you've already had an increase in prices. You can tell by the numbers of 11 or 15%, right? So make sure that you talk to a real estate professional if you do find yourself in that level of situation, to help provide you resources or provide you data points like this to guide you. Yet with the inventory being as low as it is, I don't foresee, at least in our Des Moines Metro, a lot of foreclosures hitting the market.
Oh, and like you said, Junior, I mean, unemployment's at an all-time low. Like I feel like that was what was different from the 2008 stuff. Like people couldn't pay for the mortgage, or some people had like two mortgages, right? They bought two houses and stuff. So that was a crazy, crazy time, and we just don't have we have all those protections now.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, Ryan. Like now, they're not lending like they were back in the 2007,
They
2000.
just trusted you that what you
Yeah,
made.
you're
You
like,
could
what
just
do
say
you
you made
make?
$200,000 a year, and they just like give you a mortgage.
Yeah, now you have.
I don't know if it was that easy, but I feel like that's kind of what was portrayed in the movies.
Yeah, now you have to like verify everything that you put on that application and show proof through tax returns, income statements, bank statements, etc. Right? So, and all of that stemmed from kind of that era, right? So it's just a lot more, and it's a good thing for everybody and for all consumers.
Well, and another thing, we've seen it again recent in the last 6 months, but variable rate mortgages. But there's a difference between a variable rate mortgage now and then what was happening 2006, 2007, 2008, where they were much more predatory by far, and there were looser guidelines on what banks had to adhere to. We're just we're not seeing that again. We weren't seeing it leading up to this last year, and again, people who purchase their home, even if prices do fall, their payment doesn't change. They locked in their lower interest rate if they bought, before, June of 2022. They had a decently low rate. They don't need to sell unless a life situation happens. They're not going to, their payment's not going to drastically go up. And that was part of, one of the dominoes that happened in 2008.
Yeah.
So the big question, 2023, first time home buyer, or even, hey, you're looking to maybe move up and you have been seeing the craziness these last couple of years. Is this the year? Is this the year to buy a home?
And again, if you're planning on living in that home for less than maybe 3 years, maybe the answer is no, right? Like you should maybe look at your options and rent, maybe because you're like only here for a job for 2 to 3 years, right? And in that scenario, I would probably tell you to, think about it and really weigh the pros and cons. Yet if you plan on living in your house for at least 7 to 10 years, yes, buy. Like it just shows history over time shows that real estate is a safer or a safe investment, a safe investment vehicle. And at least here in the Des Moines metro, it also helps that we live in Des Moines, Iowa. We're blessed to live in Des Moines, Iowa, and we're protected by some of those big cyclical markets that hit the rest of the United States, right? So my answer is if you're less than three, for sure think about it. That 3 to 7 range, like could go one way or the other. 7 and beyond, I think you'll be in my professional opinion, be better off investing in real estate than renting. Because when you rent, you are buying a home. You're just buying it for the person you're cutting the check to, right? So,
I would have to agree with you, Junior. I mean, I bought my house kind of not pre, I think it was 2008, and I did buy another house last year. I mean, I know me owning that home was the biggest portion of my net worth was actually having ownership in a home that appreciated, what was it, 4 to 6%. It didn't for those first 3 years, that's for sure, that I owned it, right? But ultimately it went up, and it helped me buy my next house, right? So I agree with your statement. Maybe 3 years, maybe no, but if you're going to stay in there for 7 or 10 years, you might as well have equity in something instead of nothing.
Oh yeah. I mean, I, I'm going to echo all that and saying timing the housing market's like trying to time the stock market. You're just closing your eyes, turning around in circles and throwing hoping to hit the dartboard. You can kind of see, you can get some ideas of what the housing market's doing, but ultimately, when I ask people this question, or if they ask me this, my response is, it depends if it's right for you. Like if it's right for your family, if it's right for you to purchase a home now, and that depends on how long are you going to be here in Des Moines. If you're going to be in Des Moines, you're like, well, maybe I'll move between Altoona and Waukee or Urbandale. It's like, no, 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 no. How long are you going to be in the metro? If you're going to be in the metro for longer than 5 years, yeah, it's probably going to be financially beneficial to purchase a home. And trying to time the market, you might get lucky. The very, very few get lucky on that. I know when I bought my first home in 2014, prices were high then, and I bought my house for $168,000, and that was like, oh my goodness, we're spending this much money for a 3 bedroom, 2 bath, 2 car garage house in Ankeny.
now they don't
And
exist.
now they don't exist.
Yeah.
That neighborhood is selling for 275 now. And I thought it was expensive then. And then we just watched prices. All the neighbors, when eventually sold, or some of the neighbors sold, and we're like, oh my God, the prices just keep going up and up and up. And then we're like, well, should we wait for them to come back down before we upgrade? Because we wanted to upgrade. And again, we kind of sat on the sidelines for 2 years, finally pulled the trigger. We happened to do it right before COVID, and prices just went gangbusters again. Like you never know what's going to happen. A global pandemic, who saw that coming?
Yeah,
And who saw that it was going to make a housing boom of all things?
great. Awesome, awesome. Well, hopefully it doesn't get as crazy as the most recent egg issue we're having, right? But if you have any
Yeah.
questions whatsoever, give us a call right there at that phone number. And I hope you're finding value in these and these presentations that we're doing once a month. And if you have any tips or any other info you want to get from us, call and set up an appointment with one of our agents if you really want to hone in on like literally you're like within a 2 block, 3 block radius, 1 mile radius of your neighborhood. Talked with one of our agents like Anthony or anyone else on our team. But if you want anything broad, comment below and we'll see if we can provide it on our next video or any future videos. So we're having a lot of fun with this. So thank you everyone who's watching. Our views keep going up and up and up. So thank you again for all of our viewers. And anything else to add, gents?
This was a long one, so if you've made it this far,
Yeah.
thank you. One, we can talk about numbers all day. Our aim is to keep these relatively short, but just talking a whole year in 5 minutes is hard,
Yeah, that's
especially
true.
this last year.
Yeah.
Well, until the next one, everybody, we'll see you.
Stay warm. Thanks, guys.